Yes. It's motivation. I should do something.
Asta e una așa ceva, vedeți că nu mai pleacă mâine, pleacă sâmbătă. Sau nu mai diplomarea la de asta la ora care asta e cel mai important.
Our colleagues. So that everybody will come. Time.
Et le cas définitivement décidé de ne pas déconstruire à mon avis, on ne sait pas s'il a un Ah, sì.
So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second panel today. We are talking about the value of involving artists, cultural practitioners in the design and management of public spaces. Thank you very much, Angelica Fitz and Panu Sheng, for moderating the first panel. So now this responsibility is shared between Mrs. Ana Maria Gabriel, urban economist, Better Romania, and once again, thank you, Panu Sheng, the director of Chinese Design Art Institute, Chinese National Academy of Arts, president of Shandong University of Arts and Design. Now, Ana Maria and Director Sheng, you have.
Thank you. My name is Ana Maria Gabriel, and it's my pleasure to moderate the second panel, focused on the value involving artists and cultural practitioners in the design and management of public space. The first part of our discussion focuses on the creation of space, its commodification, and also its various expressions as a place of the commons. We hope that this discussion is going to add another layer, that of really what is the added value and assigned value, be it cultural, social, or economic, that cultural practitioners have when they design and also manage public spaces. Before I introduce our distinguished co-moderator, I would kindly ask you to pay attention on time, and with your indulgence to let me signal when you have 5 minutes and 1 minute left, in order for us to have a meaningful dialogue also afterwards, after the contributions of the panel. So without further ado, I would like to give the floor to my co-moderator.
好，那么今天下半场首先发言的是来自中国艺术研究院、中国雕塑院的专家，也是我们 中国城市雕塑委员会的委员、副秘书长志敏同志。那么他还是我们中国城市雕塑家协会的理事，中国青年雕塑家创作中心秘书长，联合国教科文组织民间艺术国际机构的成员。那么请志敏。
这个是女士们、先生们，大家好！很高兴来到罗马尼亚，这也是我非常喜爱的雕塑家，20世纪非常伟大的雕塑家布朗图西的故乡。那么今天我来，因为时间有限，我用我的2件介入公共艺术的作品，和一个借助公共空间的展览，作为我们分享的一个内容。这张图片是我的一个雕塑和建筑结合的一件作品的局部。所以在我的概念里，雕塑我们看到的山川、河流、天上的云朵，在我看来都是雕塑作品。所以当这些元素映射在我的作品中的时候，我也感到无比的骄傲。那么我们这次对话是叫第6届中欧文化对话，所以我放了一张80年前的照片。这张照片上的年轻人，中国艺术家都很熟悉。这是在20世纪初的一场中欧的文化之间的很可贵的一个交流。这些人有吕思柏，有这个曾杜绍、秦宣夫、常书鸿、王黎乙、唐一和、华天友等等，都是在中国20世纪美术教育和美术创作上鼎鼎大名的人物。他们在法国学习艺术，然后在30年代和40年代回到中国，创立了这个中国现代的美术教育系统。那么今天来的很多专家学者，包括清华大学美术学院和中央美术学院的这些艺术家，应该说都是他们的徒子徒孙。那么照片中上一排的黑色礼帽的、戴着黑色边礼帽的曾杜绍先生，前几年才离我们而去，享年103岁。他是我们中国现代雕塑的奠基之一。那么中国雕塑，我认为自有传统，自有渊源。这是秦代的这个很著名的秦始皇陵的铜称，同样的威严，造型同样的具有巨大的感染力。那么这是明代中国山西双林寺的彩塑。中国雕塑还是和西方雕塑有所不同。但是他们这些雕塑在宗教空间、也是我们现在理解为公共空间的一部分，也起到了巨大的文化价值。那么这2件雕塑分别是这个米开朗基罗的大卫的雕塑的局部和山西双林寺天王的局部。那么他们的创作年代非常的接近，我认为这是中欧雕塑的一个不叫跨时空吧，叫跨空间的一个对话，同样的庄严，同样的伟大。那么历史不会停留，那么一代雕塑家在做一代雕塑家的探索和贡献。现在看到的是中国艺术研究院中国雕塑院院长，现任的中国美术馆的馆长吴一山先生的作品。这是他的作品孔子。这件作品在 2个月前，在山东一个广场还立了一尊高达22米的一尊竹筒的孔子像，作为一个文化的象征和一个民族的一个文化的渊源，为当地的这个公共空间增添了一些非常好的浓厚的文化气息。时间关系，我们就不能一一的详细讲解了。我们看一下作品，是他做的，他认为的孔子和老子的形象，关于孔子和老子的一些故事、一些形象。这件作品在江苏盐城也得到了民众的认可，放大到大概18米高，和整个的山崖混为一体，蔚为壮观。这是他做的齐白石像，这是我们20世纪的中国的著名的画家。那么吴一山先生的雕塑在从中国写意绘画中得到了灵感，创造了写意雕塑的流派。画家齐白石。这件就是刚才封面那件建筑作品，这是它刚刚落成的样子。那么如果是因为它是在中国的内蒙古，在成吉思汗的藏地一经过渡期，所以内蒙的天空万里无云，或者是白云普渡，所以它时刻随着天空的变化在变化。这个建筑长35米乘35米，大概9米高。这是整个这个建筑体的广场。这个广场源于当地政府要做一个文化广场，就是这个建筑体呢是一个入口的功能，在这个入口下面呢，建筑师做了巨大的高台阶来表达对天的敬仰的主题。那么形成了一个扁的矮的金字塔的形状。那么在这个金字塔的里面是这个政府所布设的展场、会议中心，还有这个文化交流中心，就交给当地的文化局用。那么这个入口如何处理当时经过很长时间的讨论，最后才选定了我的方案，就是用这个镜面石钢锻造，然后来映射天空。因为这个成吉思汗他呢，他的孩子有信奉佛教，也有信奉伊斯兰教、基督教都有，但是他呢对蒙古解释这个长生天呢，对天有一种悠然的一种信仰，就是更加虚无的看不见的天，所以我们无法解释这个天，我们只能以天空来代表这个天的存在。我们开始设想的就是这样一个入口的一个建筑体的艺术改造。这是它，就是每当朝霞或者夕阳的时候，它会出现那种粉红色、那种橘红色，随时在变换。当然，在技术领域，我们也做了非常艰苦的探索。所以这件作品经过了长达将近3年的和建筑师团队的共同努力才得以落成。金属框架手工锻造，这是当时我在工地现场大概在工地待了有将近1年的时间。这是它镜面所反映出的这个当地城市和当地天空的容貌。这是天空云很多的时候，它出现一种非常虚幻、似有若无的一种景象。这是我的介绍的第2件作品。这个作品在中国广东的佛山。佛山因为建设佛山新城，所以主办方邀请我来做一件户外雕塑。那么佛山呢，它别称是禅城，和这个六祖传经有关，所以我就做了一片比较大的一片菩提叶， 也是金属锻造。那么最初的想象呢是菩提叶在整个的这个草坪上，然后呢中间还有很多的植物，还有一些这个沙石露出来，在最中心有一颗这个大理石的石头，因为禅宗佛教东传以后，在中国形成了这个哲学系统，就是禅宗。禅宗很重要，就是要看这个人的，要认真的看自己的内心呢，就是我们每个人都有一个真我，还有一个妄我，虚妄的妄，真实的真，虚妄的妄。那么每个人都有，那么你的真我是什么呢？或者你的忘我又是什么呢？这希望这件作品能够让观看者能够引起这个思考。因为菩提也是这个佛陀得道的地方，但是他因为佛陀得道来被命名为菩提树，才有菩提叶。那么任何一棵树叶都是我们的菩提叶，我们可以以这样的想法来理解。但是因为造价和时间的关系，最终我的这个植物包括雕塑相互融合的计划没有成型，最后只落成了大概15米长的一片金属的镜面不锈钢的一片菩提叶。那么它也会根据当地的天空的变化不断，这还在建设中还在工地的建设中。下面是我用陶瓷材料20年，就是我对陶瓷材料和这个主题我来解释一下。我做这个作品，这是我想象中的美人鱼的样子。这个东方西方都有美人鱼的传说，但是我理解的我的生命观就是我们从何而来？我们这个材料，我们这个肉体的材料都是上亿年的材料，我理解。那么暂时拼凑起来成为现在的我。那么这个我呢，因为人很短暂，我们会消逝掉。消逝了以后，我们的肉体会重新进入大地。那么这个大地呢，它也许会长出一棵草，也许会喂养一只松鼠，都有可能。所以在我看来，就是这些动物和我们没有区别。所以这是我来进行这个系列创作的一个原因。那么我创作了大概10几件这个一个系列的美人鱼的形象，试图把这个所谓人类判断的善与恶美与丑这个有毒的、善良的这些混杂在一起的概念融为一体。那么材料呢，用的是陶瓷材料。当然用了一些陶瓷材料的一些新的技术手段，因为中国是一个陶瓷资源特别丰富的一个大国。那么我们怎么理解陶瓷？这是我做的朱雀，这是围绕着河图洛书这一个文化概念在做的一个系列。这些是陶瓷我做的龙马的形象。关于陶瓷呢，我的理解是，原来有位艺术家说，欧洲艺术家说，长城是中国最大的陶瓷作品，我很赞同这个观点。但我认为不仅如此，在我看来，这个地球它在燃烧，它的内部在燃烧。我们看到的山脉，我们看到的这些河流，都跟烧造有关。所以我几乎把整个这个天空中的星星和我们现在生活的地球，都可以把它看作一个陶瓷的材料的转换。这是我们展览的一些场景，跟中国的一些传说有关，古代传说有关。这是去年在巴黎做个展时的图片，在北京做个展的照片。这是巴黎中国文化中心，是迎接中法建交50周年。好，最后我介绍一个我们的展览项目。这个展览项目的初衷是我们中国雕塑院的雕塑家跟这个 中国的机场在积极的领路，推动了一个中国的在机场雕塑展。我们想把这些架上的雕塑作品从美术馆搬到更大的公共空间展示，然后为这个公众的生活增添一些情趣。这是深圳的新机场，这个非常大，有30万平方米的机场。我们第一站将设在深圳机场。那么我们计划在3年之内，在中国的20个机场做我们的机场雕塑展。这是布展现场。这是我在机场雕塑展做的一个投影影像雕塑技术的一个试验。谢谢大家。
谢谢你。刚才我们看到了，这里面放了很多的作品，也是中国雕塑院，包括吴伟山教授他自己的作品。我感觉今天一天看到很多的公共雕塑。其实中国的雕塑家有一个共同特点，就是说他的作品是依附到中华传统文化的这样的一个基础之上。那么这样的一个意象的表现也好，那么融入当代社会的这种艺术形态也好，我感觉对环境是有很大的一种关注。另外，他们从内涵上，这个雕塑语言上，我感觉他寻找中华文化的根脉；从表现形式上，越来越表现出中国传统的语言和当代文化。从融入社会环境这个方面来看，我感觉民众的参与度，就是用户的参与度更加广泛。包括这个机场这个项目，说机场的这个项目，首先是使用方，再一个就是这个旅客，他共同的这种参与，使得我们现在的都市文化，包括我们的很多的公共设施、交通领域，广泛的参与我们公共空间艺术。我感觉这个这里面介绍的这个。也是中国在公共雕塑当中的一个算法。好，谢谢大家。
Thank you. It's now my pleasure to introduce Mrs. Magdalena Malm, Director of the Public Art Agency in Sweden, who is going to talk about expanding market grants.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Yes. I'm the director of the Public Art Agency Sweden since 2 years back. And what we have been doing until now has been permanent works in different situations connected to the state. So this is a railway tunnel in Malmö by Tanja Wiss. It's a video work where the images are from shot all around the world and they slowly slide by. So you get an image of different places in the world, and it will also reflect the population in Malmö, which is 30% from abroad, having moved to Sweden. This is another recent work by Gabriel Lester. It's a sculpture work, so this is a photograph of a sculpture, and it's actually a frozen moment, inspired by Japanese wood carving. So he's interested in the stop motion in a film, where he freezes frame. So this is a permanent work, where he uses the moment where something is entirely still, which I think is interesting. When I started 2 years ago, this is an 80-year-old organization, state agency, and the tradition of public art in Sweden has approximately what we think of today as public art is the same length of history. So public art has almost become a genre. We imagine sculpture in a square or in a permanent work as public art. What I wanted to do is to see, is it possible to go from public art to contemporary art in public space? How can we think of all the artistic expressions that artists actually deal with that are relevant or take place in public space, that can deal with publicness? Is it possible to translate or change this old organization into working in a new way? I think there are very interesting relationships between art, contemporary art, and public space. So there's the physical dimension, the square, the floor, the houses. There is, which is referring to the object as an art object. There's the relational aspect, the social aspect of how we move between the houses, which we reflect also in contemporary art practices, from relational aesthetics to social interventions. And there's the conceptual level, the way we speak about public space, the way it represents democracy, which we can also see in artworks where the main issue is actually to create a debate and a discussion about what is public, how do we communicate, what is a democratic approach. So this interlinks, makes it very interesting to work with the dimensions of public art, or art, contemporary art in public space. For me, it's very important to depart in the artist. What exactly are artists doing at the moment? So this would be the departure point of what when we try to reform and rethink how we work with art. These are a few examples. Olof Eliasson's river, where he colored the whole river of Stockholm green. This is a very simple way of making us realize what we normally don't see, namely that there is a nature right in the center of the city. It's a sudden intervention, unannounced, happening in the city. Artists since the 60s, but intensely since the 90s, have themselves sought different situations. This is a picture from Matthew Barney's pre-monster films that were featured in cinemas. Cinema was the obvious place for a 1.5 hour long movie. Another example is Roman Ondak, who created this queue at the Frieze Art Fair, where people would follow the queue because of the curiosity, where is the good work? So they would go out into the garden and they would see a container, the queue was there, so everybody would run there and think, this is the most exciting part. So he's playing with the context of the art market situation. I think this is a very significant work. It's a work by Janet Cardiff, and it's an audio walk through the east of London. You go into Whitechapel Library, you get authenticated phones with 3D sound. You walk down Brick Lane, and she's telling you a story like a detective story, and you hear the high heels behind you. And you come to a crossing, and she says to you in your ear, because it's very, very close, cross the street and wait for you on the other side. And when I'm on the other side, she says, take a left. There's a man in a grey suit walking towards you. And there is a man in a grey suit walking towards me. Because I'm outside of Liverpool Street Station where there are always men in grey suits. And for me, when I experienced this work, it was an extremely important moment, because what happened is that reality and fiction intertwined and created an extremely strong sense of presence. And the other difference is that I'm not looking at an object at a distance. I am the center of this work. Without me or any one of you listening to this work experience it, it does not exist. So this is a total turn in how we can receive a public art. We asked the question, what can art in public space be? And so we looked at Ted Doherty from Situation and said, new form of public art, unsettle rather than confirm our sense of place. I think that's interesting in relationship to what is the value of the art in the public space. Maybe it's not just to confirm an identity, but to unsettle it, to allow for new interpretations of that identity. Katarina Törn, a Swedish researcher, public spaces don't just exist. These spaces need to be actively created, claimed, and made public. So in this sense, the art world helps to actually establish sometimes those public spaces, to activate them and to make them exist. At the moment, we work with more formats, so we don't just work with permanent works, we work with temporary works, we work with urban development, we also have a large collection, but that is more of a static situation, I would say. And I will focus in this particular presentation on a project that we have done for the last 4 years as a mission from the Swedish government. And it's about collaboration on the design of public space. It's a collaboration between 4 state agencies, ourselves, the National Heritage Board, looking at the national heritage as a dynamic notion, something which changes with the course of history. the Board of Housing regulating building in Sweden, but also caring for dialogue with citizens and the social connections, and the Center of Architecture and Design. And I will present a few cases, because here I think the value is defined in many different ways. This is a piece by Simon Starling in an area of Sweden, a city of Sweden, Helsingborg, where there's a huge divide of social situation or income between the north and the south. So they wanted to create a new road connecting those two parts of the city. And this was before the plan was actually made. And Simon Starling noticed that there was this flying pigeon association, and exactly where they wanted to build the road. And so he said, well, this is a value. So he took a helicopter and he took the sheds and he transported them into the harbor. And he put them in the spotlight. So what's normally overlooked in the gentrification process, he put in the spotlight and he said, there's a value in this social community, which was very ethnically diverse. There's a value in the tradition of pigeon flying with mail. And there's a kind of other value of aesthetics in this small shed. So here, what the artist would add is not a piece of art, but it's a critical dimension to say, this is what exists here. Please look at the values that already exist. It's a kind of resistance towards the gentrification process, to look at the existing values. A very different project was in one of the million programs, the very ethnically diverse suburbs of Stockholm. It was a building process that had been stopped for 14 years because of a conflict between the constructors and the citizens and the municipality. So this artist, Kerstin Bergendahl, she assembled all the civic society, the social functions of society, the citizens, and the politicians, and she had a dialogue. She lived there for over a year. And in the end, they had a new plan for how this local area would develop, where the citizens were actually involved in creating this new plan. And in this process, people started to talk with each other. So what happened was that suddenly there was a new youth club. There was no new funding. There was just that people started to say, well, if we collaborate between the library and the sports club and so on, we can create this new youth club together. So she created not only a solution for the planning, which is now going to be a proper plan for that part of the community, but she also created a social fabric which then lasted after she's left. This is, again, a very different project where there is a city in the north of Sweden where the whole mine is growing underneath the city. So the whole city will need to be moved entirely, but step by step. Between where the city still functions and the mine, there is a zone where you can still walk, but you can't actually have any infrastructure. So two artist groups were commissioned to do projects here, and one of them was looking at the old buildings that needed to be torn down. And instead of transporting them away, they constructed this is yet to be constructed, it's not constructed yet, that's why this is a strange rendering. They made those sculptures in nature from the remains of the houses, and they're actually on the same places where the houses were. So for safety reasons, you could keep the houses. And in this project, they saved a lot of money because they didn't have to transport all the masses from the torn down houses to another place. So one value here was economical value. The other one was of course that this park was created and there were places where people could remember the places where they used to live. And the second project was, normally there is a fence, so there's a very strong feeling of this is where our territory ends and the dangerous mining district starts. So instead of having a normal fence, they created this movable, because constantly mine moves and grows underneath the city. So they created this structure which can move along with the process of the mine. And they collected stories from citizens talking about the history of that place. So they collected like the cultural heritage of this place, and they made it into a design which then allowed for this constant movement. And where the movement doesn't have to be a threat, but it's kind of a value that's inscribed in that particular place. And this is not the project that we produced. It's a project by an artist, Johannes Rosson-Fürst. But I think it's a very good example of the value that an artist can add. So it's initiated by her. It's in a suburb of Stockholm. Again, quite a poor area. There were some very some strong riots a couple of years ago. What she's done is she's looked at this very particular area that they call the million programs because they built so many houses in the 60s. And they are stigmatized because they become kind of a problematic area with a high unemployment. She's looking at the values in this place. It's a very, very interesting color scheme. It's like a huge abstract painting. And so she collected all those color schemes, and unfortunately this isn't translated to my computer. It's all the colors made into a flag, which would be the symbol of this place. And this is how they're now being renovated, those houses. So they are made to look like in the posh part of the new built houses in Stockholm. A very anonymous, generic architecture. And they are actually then losing the values of those color schemes. So you can see the difference, the generic renovated places and the original colors of those houses. So in this case, the artist is actually looking at an existing value in this area, and if we can appreciate those existing values, it also means that we don't have to totally make over the houses. It means that the tenants can still live in the places they would like to live. They don't want to move with higher rents. So it's a kind of sustainability in the way that the artist looks at an area like this. This is my last example, and it's a performative work by an artist group called Post Restante. You walk to the major old theatre in the city of Gothenburg, and you hand in your mobile phone. You get another mobile phone, and someone will call you, and you answer, and this person will guide you through the city. Take you there and ask you, do you remember this place? Did you notice that you just walked from a private place to a public place? Does it feel different? Do you remember that this post office is now turned to a hotel? Were there a occasion when you were there and you had a dialogue with this person who's asking you questions? And in the end, you come back to the theatre and you write a small card, something that you miss in the city, something that you either was there before and isn't there anymore, or something that you're longing for, that you wish was in your own city. And the conference is reading this, and there is this like a memorial ceremony almost, where all those cards are gathered. And this is made as I produced it before. I worked at a different place, and I curated this project. And I think it's a spontaneous act of artists working with public space, dealing with public space. But then we actually transformed it. So in a development of a new area in the north of Sweden, they used this as a citizen dialogue. So instead of asking on a paper, would you like a swimming pool or football pitch? Try to address by designing the whole experience for the viewer. They try to address what do we miss in the city, what do we actually love. And in terms of value of art, I think that we can see economical value. We can see that we take the cultural heritage and include it. We can see place-making and identity. But I would say that the core value is when artists can address that inside of us, that feeling of presence and that feeling of maybe loss or melancholia or something else that's deeply human. Because we're in an extremely rational society. So I would claim that the highest value for art is to make us aware that we're human beings in this society.
Thank you very much, Magdalena, for a very insightful presentation that speaks in a way about the future of cities, be they European or Chinese. The examples that you offered on exactly how the process of co-designing takes place or took place. And the fact that it tackles gentrification, which is a process that most European cities are facing, but also the rapid urbanization process in China is showing this kind of challenges in the future. It's now my pleasure to introduce not the moderator, but the panelist, Professor Van Schum. He has a very rich experience, and currently, as stated, he's president and professor of the Chinese Art Design Institute at the Chinese National Academy of Arts, as well as the chairman of Shandong Literary Federation. So without further ado, I give you the floor to be.
主持人转换到演讲人，谢谢大家。今天一天的时间听了很多的专家的发言，非常受启发。那么，特别是今天下午的这个论坛过程当中，很多的专家提出来关于我们这个城市空间，或者我们这个空间的文化发展问题。我想结合我们中国的城镇化进程，谈一谈公共艺术的这个发展问题。因为这里边很多的问题啊，举了很多的案例。并不是说它是一件什么完整的作品，但是在中国的现状现实，它确实存在。那么也借这样的一个机会呢，跟我们的很多的专家做一下交流。那么公共艺术啊，我感觉它是一个具有当代性的一个命题。那如何去解读它？我感觉今天下午有一个专家就提到，公共这个空间问题，包括公共艺术。不仅仅是文化问题，它还是经济社会。如果是没有社会人的参与，没有经济的支柱，我感觉这种文化有的时候也是非常复杂。那么我感觉结合中国的现实，我想谈三个问题。第一是中国城镇化与公共艺术的这个空间的价值，它的价值到底在哪？因为在21世纪初，中国提出来城镇化。那么新型城镇化的进程也非常快，它的价值。第二，在这个进程过程当中，它的发展的关键问题是什么？第三是它的发展方向，要找到它自身的一个发展的方向。我想中国城镇化的发展速度是非常快的，从中国改革开放的1978年到这个13年，这是作为13年的一个统计。我们很多的数字，就是数字来看，都是10倍、几十倍的增长。那这表明什么呢？表明中国的经济在发展，文化，特别是当代文化的融入。刚才很多中国的专家介绍我们的城市雕塑，我们的城市也发展了一个翻天覆地的变化。那通过这样的一个数字，我们感觉中国的社会发展。经济发展、文化进程速度是非常快的，是改革开放30年。但是在中国要谈城市，一定要谈城市群。我想中国面临的3个大的一个城市群，一个是珠江三角洲，一个是长江三角洲。珠江三角洲主要是以深圳、广州为核心，那么长三角主要是上海、苏州，那么还有京津冀。有的是叫环渤，这3个大的城市群代表中国一线城市的发展格局。我想我们就是从这3个大的城市群可以看到，中国的城市和世界，特别是欧洲的城市形成鲜明的对比。那么在城镇化发展过程当中，城市发展非常快，现代化的程度也非常高，但是值得我们思考的问题是。我们深层次的文化结构发生了变迁，那这个变迁首先是文化性质上存在的断层。那么从传统农耕社会走来，我们过去讲的是礼法、纲常、道德观念。那么现在工业文明给我们带来的是物质主义和消费主义。那这样的一个问题。我想近期大家已经意识到，这种在发展过程当中，我们相对文化的失落， 我们情感相同的东西在中国大陆上消失。那中国现在提出来以后，以人为核心的新型城镇化的发展方针，这是在这个18大之后提出来一个这样的，特别是今年的两会，总理报告当中提出来一个以人为核心的新城镇化。我想这个城镇化对大家要关注的，人是第一位。过去城市发展，我们的建筑啊，我们的样式啊，都很重要，风格都很重要，但是最重要的是人。那以人为核心，就要考虑到我们的乡土记忆、自然环境和文化生态。那这里边我们可以看到，我们新型文化城镇化的这样的一个文化构建，首先是文化的凝聚、情感的维系、精神的追求、物质的建设。是理解。那有了一个这样的一个大的构成，我想这才是下一步所要进行的城镇化，而不是改革开放初期我们这30多年发展，城市病很多，交通病很多，文化的失落也非常的凸显。那文化的断层表现在第一，增强当代社会人与人之间的情感联系，这是大方面。第二，提升民众审美的素质。今天杭天先生提出来一个城市美学，这个很重要。中国历史上对美的追求，无论是宫廷文化、文人文化、民间文化，三大体系是相当稳定，但是这个结构受到破坏。那么同时要增进文化认同，这文化认同是非常关键的。就是说，我们发展再快，最后没有你国家的符号，没有民族的符号，没有自己本土的符号，我感觉这种城镇化是失败的。第三、第四，就深化人们内在的精神价值追求，就是我作为主体，因为今天韩天教授再三强调。以人为核心，他去选择。那么，这是我们在山东做的一个乡村记忆工程。这个乡村记忆工程经过2年的这个探索，我感觉是非常成功。老百姓进入城市之后，他有记忆，他希望在他这个故土上有乡村的博物馆，有他们的老房子。有他们这种亲情的这种关联，我想我们建了很多的博物馆，这是我们大学建了一个民营博物馆，从生活方式、生产用品、礼俗这样的一套完整的博物馆系统。另外，我们这是一件在山东莱州一件老百姓和当地政府。和我们大学生3方完成，这里面有大学的学生参与，有当地的村民，还有镇政府参与的一个项目。因为他们这个街道啊，就是他们这个街道办事处叫金仓街道办事处。那么当地的文化和礼俗有这样的一个元素，他们把仓与俗这样的一个礼仪为重点，因为粮仓啊，中国是一个农耕文明的社会。过去有了粮，你就有武器，是吧？就能讲礼节，是吧？如果是不丰衣足食，你不可能去知道你还有农。我想从这样的一个理念上，这是大学生和村民共同完成的一件公共艺术，当然是很肤浅，但是老百姓喜欢。他们看到他们就是丢掉东西，这是上海一个社区的一个，他通过他的导视系统，通过他的这个路面的指挥系统，还有现代雕塑和这个活体雕塑，就是参与性。那么这件作品也是在上海公共艺术的论坛当中 一幅上海推荐的一幅作品。第二个问题就是发展管理到底是什么？我想知根于自然生态，这个非常重要。公共空间、大空间是自然，小空间是作品。那大空间我们要考虑它的地理环境、气候特点、生产方式，包括我们的建筑和手工艺和民风民俗。那么最终构建出来我们公共艺术的空间设计。这是我们大学这个老师和学生参与的一个农博园。这个农博园选择了24个节气。中国的先民非常伟大，最早发现了北斗七星。那么通过气候来判定这个时间，1年12个月。这12个月当中，1个月2个节气，最后形成24节气。农博园嘛，农耕文明为象征，这个理念很重要。我们现在这个记事、计时这样的一种文化，我们忘记了。其实这是中国先民一个伟大的创举。我想通过这样的一个环境，一个农博园的包括环境和雕塑融为一体，让大家记住。我今天到这个农博园去，它是春分啊，还是秋雨啊，雨水啊，还是惊蛰啊？这是气候让他去了解。这是四川美术学院，中国四川美术学院的项目。我感觉这一件作品是上一次获得了一个上海公共艺术论坛的大奖。这幅作品给我们最大的一个体验是，它用的所有的材料都是当地的，它用的所有的民工都是当地的，他们的教室这个设计和制作，这些所有的人都是他们的教授和学生。这个公共性是在于不是唯一的，这个公共性一定要考虑到创作者和使用者和周围的环境人的关系。我想这件作品是非常完整的。这是台湾的一个生态村，我也去过，我感觉营造的这个非常有意思，就是把自然的环境和它的居住空间有机的结合起来。因为中国的园林啊是非常讲究自然、环境、人和你对情绪的包容。那我们发展的关键，第二就是延续历史文脉。中国谈文化、谈艺术，这是必须要谈的。过去我们谈的太少了，所以说丢的太多，是吧？我们现在是城市没有中国文化的元素。那就在于我们没有传承我们的历史文脉。那这样的一个公共艺术空间的历史记忆，它的创作题材、它的表现形式、文化内涵、供应材料，我感觉都和我们这些要素有密切关系。今天一天看到中国很多雕塑家、艺术家的作品，我感觉潜意识的已经反映出来这样的一个要素。这是南京的历史政治主义，我感觉这个创作非常好。这就是要记录历史，忘记历史就一无未来。这是天津大都市当中，然后增添了一个动感的一个游乐场。这属于大城市当中的一个空间。我们再回到农村、乡村，乡村城市化进程当中，一定要看到大城市、一线城市，千万别丢了这个最末端的小城镇。城镇化进程不意味着中国就要取消农村，也许用农村这样的一个新型社区，它的文化积淀、它的文化元素、它的文化传承是最丰富的。这是苏州公交车站，我们现在正在给青岛 设计它的地铁站。那一定要把它的开国最早的德国的文化和本土的中国的文化高度结合，但是它跟苏州绝对不是一个模式，这就叫因地制宜，就根据你公共艺术要考虑你公共文化空间的文化。那么第三个问题就是发展方向，就中国的城镇化公共空间上哪儿去？上哪儿去？我想，首先是要保护，因为改革开放30多年，我们丢的东西太多，所以说这个传统村落的这种空间形态是非常完美的。所以说，我们现在可以从这个文化传承和保护这个角度，刚才很多专家就提了问题，就是说，这老房子，老百姓并不愿意在这里面住，但是你能帮吗？我们已经帮了30多年了，车迁了30多年了。这些东西就是说，当我们的生活和现代的国际还没有接轨时，这些东西放到准备帮不起来，就是政府的意愿、个人的意愿、社团的意愿和文化进程应该保持高度。这是山东有一部电视剧叫《闯关东》，这个闯关东的主人公就是从朱家峪出现，这样的一个非常完整的一个村落。这是山东胶东地区的祭海。哎呀，你要是参加一次祭海的活动，你才知道中国人的力量有多大。敬天、敬地、敬海。这是福建的土楼。其实我们现在用现代设计的眼光，它对自然的融入、对人的保护非常完整。但是现在我们不需要了，我们需要精明洁净的大楼，能帮吗？不能。那这就是存在着保护与发展的一个保护，这也是一个国际保护。那第二方面，我感觉应该加强传统元素和公共艺术的重合，就是刚才看的这些东西都是宝贝，都是资源，说如何把资源变成我们当代的符号、当代的价值、当代的财富，那就要汲取这些要素。那么首先是精神的转化，现在我们最缺少的就是精神的转化。第二，符号转化；第三，素材转化。这是我们前几天在中国美术馆做的一个展览，就是手艺在农村，既是保护的对象，也是老百姓获取他的生存，得到的价值的一种案例。那这样的一个展览当中，我们把原生态老百姓的作品搬进了中国美术馆。这是重庆的一个地铁的地方，因为这些作品我没有评论它好与不好，它就在中国已经发生，这就是中国的现状。西安美院本来还能把这些文物想存下来，怎么存啊？有一阵方式，但是存了10年、20年，就形成这个大幅的文案、大幅的记忆，也就是一种历史的文案。我想每一次到西安美院去，我就感觉这样的一个符号，就是西安美院。这是庆阳，庆阳是民间美术之乡，还有很多的符号元素，一看就是庆阳。但是这些元素政府能接受，老百姓肯定喜欢，但是在公共空间当中，它又是一种很典型的一种标志。我要这个它是很。再一个就是以当代观念塑造现代社区生活。这个现代社区啊，对中国人来讲，这是刚刚过了10年。那大家一定要理解一个国家的经济、文化、社会发展的一个轨迹、发展的过程。 我前不久到了几个社区，我就感觉老百姓的幸福指数非常高。第一，他可以写书法，他可以做剪纸，他把中国的传统文化在这一个小小的社区当中，他构建的非常好。我到了彝族的一个山寨，他们把彝族的漆器作为他们这个村的标志。这就是公共艺术。什么叫公共艺术？不是艺术家你说他就是公共艺术，是老百姓他喜欢，但是设计师参与，共同完成。这是上海的公共艺术出的。秦皇岛的红川外，因为这个地方冬天时间比较长，大雪封城的时间比较长，人们要出去运动活动，但是又没有标志。他们夏天的时候就是一个红丝带，下雪以后还有一个明显的一个标志。这也是一件很完整的一件作品。中学天真浪漫的孩子，在这样一个环境下，我估计这个创意首先是老师的创意，作品可能是孩子，有可能是这广泛的参与性，这都是非常有限的。这不是所谓的这个艺术家的作品，我就拍的不是在公共空间，我就感觉它有这种公共性。浙江的古里乡村的公共活动已经超时了，超时1分钟。好，谢谢大家。
Thank you very much, especially for providing the context on where is this process happening, and especially in new cities in China, and for taking us from the geography of the place to the actually creation of the space. Our last panelist, Ms. Pauline Steinschneider, is going to speak about the EU-Chinese cultural projects, and she's Secretary General for the European Cultural Relations in France.
Hi. I've done some Chinese words, but I will not try to speak in Chinese. I'm happy to be here because I did the work since a long time on European cooperation in the field of culture and technologies and cities and urbanism. But since several years we try to develop cooperation with China. So I will present you our approach and two projects. One is an ongoing project supported by the European Union with a Chinese partner, and another one that is a future project. And this future project is based on the creation of a platform of exchanges between European professionals and Chinese professionals about urbanization. Okay, just a quick presentation about the labs. We are based in France, in Paris, and we are a private association, but a non-profit one, and we are dedicated to art and culture, social innovation, territories, and technologies in Europe. We have a special focus on the innovation, more on the social one than on the pure technological one, even if we use technological tools sometimes, and new users in changing fields such as urbanism, medias, artistic creation, cultural heritage, environment, or education. And we have another pillar of activities, it is the digital cultural heritage. So our approach is very linked to the question of participation. of citizens and empowerment of citizens in the decisions for urban making. And another point of our approach that is very important is the transsectorial approach, because we think that cultural and artistic sectors have important added value, and that it's very important to match, to have a very transsectorial approach between artists and creators and urban plannings and politicians and other specialists of environment or other issues in order to work on sustainable development. So we work on from local to European and international activities. We work on European projects, and we have a strong partnership since 2 years with Sinapolis, based in China and Beijing. And Sinapolis is one of our partners in the Creative Europe program and the Globalities project. And we are a member of European networks, just like Culture Action Europe, European Network of Living Labs, and Michael Culture Association. And we are supported by the French Ministry of Culture and European Union. So it's a mix of different activities that we have organized. Just to say that for us, growing urbanization, sustainable development, digital challenge, users' involvement, economic and cultural attractiveness, governance are part of the main steps cities have to take on. And to face this reality, it has become necessary for us to find adapted means to design cities and territorial development. And the new processes to imagine have to respond to a main stake, that is to restructure urban places, to live and to invent a creative, sustainable, and very important citizen-centered city. We do believe in transdisciplinary and transsectorial approach between artists, urban planners, politicians, and other professionals and citizens. And for us, this transversal approach is necessary to face all the challenges of the city. We do think that to work with art and artists has a lot of added value for the development of the cities. And we have developed different projects on the national level first, and using different approaches to mobilize, to enhance the awareness of the citizens, to mobilize them in a sustainable way, or to create dialogue between the different stakeholders of the cities. And those different approaches can be artistic installations in public space, or organized events, just like a parking day. This is this one. And it's a day where everyone go outside and organize a park, and take the place of the cars, organize a park, and express themselves about what they want for the city. And it's another way, a creative way for reappropriation of the city and to create dialogue. For example, we organize a digital walk. We organize also cooperation project with our artists about art, nature, and development of cities, or about how technology can help the empowerment of citizens. So this slide is it's an abstract of a publication that we are preparing with our European partners. It's the conclusion of one ongoing project named Eclectis, and it's about the added value of art and creative sectors. In fact, I will present you this project after this slide, but this is about cultural cooperation between artists and creators from different countries in Europe, majority east of Europe, and with also Chinese partners, Sinopolis. And we wanted to study how, at the European perspective, we could exchange about our different approaches to enhance the participation of citizens in the decision for design the city. And we wanted to create, in fact, a network about this question and to do some recommendation to European politicians and to reinforce the face of art and culture in the European programs and European projects, and to give some narratives to advocacy for art and culture at the EU level, in fact. So for us, artistic interventions in public space or in urban space has a lot of added value. It's one of the pillars of the sustainable development. And for us, the most important thing is that it creates a special space for dialogue and for a new dialogue, for a more horizontal dialogue. And to this context, favor people's creative potential and new practices, that is very important. And it's liberate the expression and the possibility to have a strong dialogue between all the stakeholders of the city. It means the citizens, the professionals, and the politicians. And for us, it is very important to work in this question of participation of citizens and empowerment of citizens, because we think that the role of art and artist is not only aesthetic, but is also a kind of political role, not in the sense of politics, but in the sense of help to face the challenges of the cities. So this is the European project. It's ECLECTIS. It's a European Citizens Laboratory for Empowerment Citizens. And the objectives of this project is to empower citizens to drive local change, to encourage creativity and new appropriation of urban space, and to enhance European urban space diversity. So we are now at the end of this project because it will be finished in December, and it's supported by the European Union under the framework of the Culture Programme, and we have 11 partners, and we have the associated partners like Sinopolis or the French Institute in Paris. And the idea was to implementing an innovative structuring European process to favor citizens' integration in the urban making in public space. So we developed different activities in the approach of transdisciplinary and participatory and collaborative activities. So we organize in each different cities laboratories for artistic and citizens experimentations. So we ask to artists or to urban planners, to creators, to work with citizens during a certain time in each country, and to work together in a specific area and try to define what will be the future of this area. So in order to develop a bottom-up approach and to reinforce the capacity of the citizen to have a dialogue with the local authorities and with the professionals to make the future of this area more close to their needs. We organized also participatory public events and roundtables between professionals, local authorities, and citizens. And we publish recommendation in December. So it's quite a few of the different activities. All the activities were in public spaces, and it was most of the time linked to how by the help, thanks to artists and creators, how to mobilize the citizens to do some proposals for the development of the city or the development of their street or the area where they live, with different tools, artistic and creative tools. So we use some simple papers for the express wishes, or technological ones to express also proposals or debates. So the idea was to reinforce us as professionals also, and to exchange, to see what was the different practices in the different countries, and to know more about the situation in the different countries, because the question of the urban development is different in the different countries of Europe, and the challenges are different. There are some common challenges like environment, for example, or urbanizations, but the laws are different, the participation of habitants are different, the culture of participation is different, and it was very interesting for us to see if at a European level and at the European and China dialogue level, it was possible to find a kind of kit or tool that will help each professional to work this question of participation of habitants in the building of the cities. But the answer, of course, is that there is no tool. But the answer is that working together at European level or with international level, but with a dialogue, is very important. And this is the most important question. The exchange of knowledge, of expertise, of experience is very important at the professional level. And it's also very important to have these exchanges at each national level, because most of the time the citizens don't understand why politicians take this decision for the city, and the politicians don't understand why the citizens doesn't agree. So it's very important to create a dialogue. And I think that artists and creators are the perfect way to create this possibility to have a dialogue. So the impact of this project, to kind of impact on citizens, it's changed their awareness on the question of urban development, and their possibility of action. And it reinforced open dialogue between the citizens, the professionals, and politicians, all the stakeholders. Sometimes it opened the dialogue in some countries, and sometimes it reinforced the dialogue, because the situation is completely different in each country. And we also succeed to obtain proposals for public spaces by citizens. And in all the European countries, the answer was very focused on the question of more art in public space, more vegetal places in public space, and alternative mobility and faithful city. The cooperation with China was more focused on an exchange between professionals of European Union and China, and the participation of our Chinese partner in a public conference in France. And it was the first step of the collaboration. And for the cultural sector and the political stakeholder, the impacts were on new approaches for better collaboration between stakeholders, and more understanding about the uses and the needs of inhabitants. Because what we discovered is that if you want, as an artist or creator, to work with inhabitants, with citizens, you need to have new abilities, very linked to the question of how to develop a relation, a sustainable relation with people how to listen, because most of the time, as an artist or a creator, you are in your creation. And even if you are in relation with citizens, it's very difficult to have a new position, to be with the citizens and to work with them, and not to be the only one creator. So the artists who participate to this project asked to continue to work in this question of development of abilities. And that's why we have developed another project, and this project will begin in December, after the end of the ongoing one. And this one named Artisan Initiative, so it's supported by again by the European Union, under the framework of Creative Europe program. And we have decided to reinforce the cooperation with China in this future project. This project will be completely focused on how to reinforce the skills, the abilities of the transsectorial and transversal abilities or skills or competencies of the creative sectors, I mean artists and creators, to be able to work with citizens in a perspective of co-construction, co-creation, co-design of public spaces. So the partners are the same of the Eclectis project, plus another one at ARC, that is here, from Romania, from Cluj. And we have again Sinapolis as a China partner, and the French Institute again as a city partner. And so in this project there will be a long-time residency in China, and we would like to develop cooperation and to identify some artists or designers or urban planners from China to come in Europe under this project. And at the end, I do it very quickly. The next one, it's different. The name is Urbanities. And we are now working on a project. It's two things in the same project. It's how to create a sustainable platform of dialogue about questioning to urbanism and the development of cities between Europe and China, and professional exchanges. It is an open dialogue and sustainable dialogue on the question of innovative cities. And there will be a first edition in Beijing next year. So we work with, we have prepared this project with Sinapolis, and at the moment we have contacted some partners, so they have to be confirmed. The Beijing Design Week, the Institute of Urban Planning, CALFAS, MODA, and Interactive Beijing, we hope, and Institut Français in China, and Ambassade de France en Chine. So the idea is to have this platform for dialogue with a seminar, with exchange between professionals, and to have some events each year. So the idea is to organize the first festival in Beijing. And this festival will be, in fact, a 3 days event. I do it quickly. So the idea is to have a focus on spaces in transition. So we like to work on the specific site, silo. And then we'll organize conferences about culture and urban policies of metropolis. We work also on the question of smart citizens and about media, about environment, about art in the city. A lot of topics that we would like to present in this first edition. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pauline. It's very informative to see how what projects have been done, and most importantly, what projects can emerge. And we hope that this dialogue is an opportunity to exchange ideas and to think about future projects. But in order to do so, we have to exchange ideas. So before opening the dialogue towards the audience, I would kindly ask the panelists if they have questions to one another, because the presentations have tackled very different layers and very different modes of action that can complement each other.
Okay.
Yes, I have a question for Corinne. When we work with urban development projects, we are extremely aware not to push gentrification and not to smooth out processes in order to, for instance, push people away from the areas where they're living. And when you say that you work with economical growth as one of your major factors, how do you tackle that problem? If one of your parameters that you work with is economical growth, usually when you work in a project where you bring economical growth, that usually leads to the people living in that area not affording to live there anymore, having to move. So how do you balance that when that's one of your explicit aims? We have the example in the Effective project in Barcelona, because if I understand well your question, because our partner in Barcelona worked with collective of artists in a zone where in an area in transition, there was nothing, in an area with majority of poor people, and they worked with this collective of artists in order to develop this area and to find a new way for the inhabitants of this area. To develop in an economical way, in a social way. And it's true that when we work in a city and when we work on the developments, you can have a problem of gentrification or other things. But in this case, we work with the inhabitants and they created an association, in fact, in order to help themselves and create links between them to continue the project after our departure. And they stayed in this area. And it didn't change the economical it changed the situation of the people, but they didn't move away. They stayed here because with this artistic project, because it was artists in this area, they rediscovered, in fact, this area. They were not proud of this area because in all Barcelona, everybody said that it was a bad area, that it was dangerous, etc. And then they work, and with artistic events, they cooperate with the artists, they discovered the area in a different way, and then they become proud to live there. So it's changed the way and the well-being, in fact, of the inhabitants.
If there are no other questions from the panel, I would open the discussion to the audience. And also, I would kindly ask you when you post a question to briefly state your name and your affiliation.
Hello, I am Sakajishwan from Altar Foundation Romania, and I have a question to Magdalena and to Mr. Panushek, the same question. I like very much Carsten Bergendahl's work. It looked really participative, horizontal, etc. And I wonder, this is a question, what kind of mechanisms do you have to aggregate citizen opinion when you are designing uses of social space? You as an institution of the city, or etc. And the same question goes for Mr. Panushek. I very much liked the emotional aspect. How important you find that people are emotionally connected through this work. What kind of mechanisms, again, you use to aggregate public opinion in designing space?
Thank you. There might have been a problem with the translation, so I will repeat the question. The question is addressed both to Magdalena and to Professor Boucher. So the question is, how do you aggregate the opinion of the public in the process that you described?
I think in Kerstin Bergendahls case, I would say when artists step into work with urban development, it's not so much that they make an artwork, it's that they use their skills. So when we know we want a participatory social process, we pick an artist who has those skills. And it's a dialogue process that she's been working with for 20 years. And what we did in this project as well was that we had a follow researcher mapping out the methodologies so that we could also then look at what worked. And we also had examples of when it didn't work, which were just as interesting because they told us maybe more than when it was successful. It's hard to go into detail, but it's very much about selecting an artist who has that precise capacity. I think very often we can naively say we insert some art and everything's fine, and I think this is totally wrong. I think when we collaborate, collaboration can be amazing. It's very difficult, and in order for it to work, one has to be extremely specific about what the task is and what kind of skills you need to enter that process.
能重复一下他的观点吗？好像没听太清楚。
In the city where we work, we have sort of spaces, public spaces that we try to design. And we try to ask people what they want, what they need, how they want to use space. And when I saw in your presentation, I quote, people-centered new urbanization guideline. I wonder what kind of mechanisms you have that actually manage to achieve this people-centeredness.
没有翻译。
就是我们在中国，您刚才那个就是讲的里面就谈到了中国的很多农村，包括城市，建了很多的公共文化空间。在这个过程中呢，提到需要和当地的人去沟通，征求他们的意见，他们想要什么样的一个公共艺术，或者是什么样的一个公共空间的这样一个设施。那么在他们与他们沟通和他们的诉求之间，到底这个运行机制是怎么样推进，然后怎么样去沟通，达到一个最终的一个妥协也好，或者是共同目标也好，这个机制是什么？
这个在中国的农村要去推动一个我们认为的是艺术活动，对他们来讲就是他们周边环境的改造。就是我们的认识啊，在有的时候不是一个平台，就你是在做一个作品，他感觉是改善他的环境，这个是共识。但是在参与过程当中，特别是这个学生啊，我们大学生做的这个项目很多， 在参与过程当中，一开始是政府积极，老百姓不积极。在这个设计和施工过程当中，老百姓受益的是老百姓，那他就开始积极，他在给你出主意。有的时候他提了很多的方案，你包括有一次这个就是刚才一看那个粮仓的这个团队，到农村去做了一个，就是看到他们这个村旁边有很多的旧砖旧瓦，那就有一个村民就是说，能不能把这样的一个砖和瓦，能不能给我们做一个墙？我们说这是我们祖宗留下的东西，材料是他们提供的，设计师是提出了一个方案，那么政府推动这个事儿，最后效果是非常好的。我也没想象，就是没有想象到，就是老百姓的参与程度是非常高的。因为山东的胶东地区，就刚才我举的案例的这个胶东地区，是经济文化相对比较发达的，不是贫困地区，是发达地区。他们的认知度、接受度，包括就是你做这个艺术设计的这个文化认同，他们基本上是一致的。
Very, very good question.
Thank you. Are there other questions from the audience? Or from the panel, for that matter? If not, I'm going to address the question to all the panelists. We spoke, and the theme of the panel was value, and value itself is a very, let's say, eclectic concept. And also, all of us most of us here use English as a foreign language, so a lot gets lost in translation somehow. So my question would be, from your experience and from the recent work that you do, how do you cope with the need to always monetize value? And how do you try to integrate non-monetary ways of assigning value?
Shall I start? There is a very interesting, the head of the School of Economics in Stockholm is doing research on quality, and he says that when you measure something which is quantifiable, you do it with a certain words, certain terminology, which is quantifiable. When it comes to art, he suggests that you need to resist to quantify it, because quality is not quantifiable. Quality is something you have to describe, you have to articulate quality. And I think that's a very good solution when we deal with art, because we need to articulate the values. A value is not a number. A value is an articulation, and it consists of many different values. I just agree with what you say. I don't know for you, but in France, all the time we have people ask us about the impact or indicators of the value of the results of the project. And yes, the question of quality is the most important, and for us the question is the value of a project is very linked to how does it change the vision of the people and the quality of life, not in the sense of economic quality of life, but how does it participate to transform something in the social level. And the second one is
what will be the future after the end of the project, because the most dangerous thing is to launch a project linked to urbanism or in the development of the cities, and then after to let the citizens alone. So the other value is how to who you give the maybe the sustainability of the project. If there are no other contributions, I thank you very much for your.
Just a second, yes.
My question is related to the discussion now, and it's about the decision-making process. I have an additional question to the gentleman there. The process of how to find out what a local community really wants. Because if you come in as a curator or an expert,
Speak up.
Laura, okay. If you come in as a curator or expert and so on, and you have a disadvantaged community like you showed, Magdalena, surely they don't know what they want. So there must be a very complex process of getting out of them their reality. So that's on the one side. But certainly in my country, I know lots of examples of conflict between what politicians want to be done in public spaces and what the local community they want, because it could be a prestige thing for a politician and so on. So what's the trend in China and your countries about this balance between who decides how much political influence on decision-making and how much on artistic, cultural, community considerations? Is there a trend? In China, we always hear that it's a top-down decision-making process, but from some of the examples we saw, they seem to be also inspired by other considerations, artistic and cultural.
In fact, in France, for example, and in the different countries of Europe, there is an increase of interest by the politicians about the consultation of the citizens and on the participation of the citizens, because they know that for the sustainability of the city, they need to have the agreement and the participation of the inhabitants. So since several years in France, for instance, the politicians at the territorial level, they used to ask to urban planners when they do consultation to design the city, to work with the citizens, and they use the participation of artists in order to have their feedback. And but in offshore there is a problem if people doesn't agree. But the idea is if you create it's not if you create the possibility for dialogue, then you will try to find a kind of consensus. You will find a position that it's a very long process, but you can try to have a dialogue and to have decisions that will be shared. We saw with the Eclectic project that the situation is very different. In some countries, the politicians doesn't care at all about what the citizens would like to. But in fact, to work as an artist or as a creator with the desire of participation and to be part of the European network is a way to reinforce their advocacy for toward the politician to talk with the citizens and to work closer to the citizens. I think that it's a long process, but to work in a European or international perspective inside the network can reinforce, in fact,
step by step the position of each practitioner in his own country.
我想切合一下这个中国公共艺术的情况，因为公共艺术对中国的城市发展来讲还是个新生事物，但是它毕竟是经过这10年左右的这个推进，包括大城市当中的交通系统，包括我们现在很多市民的广场、公共空间。都是有相对严格的一个程序。如果说它是个公益性的，那就是说政府作为主导，它给你投资，投资方是政府，那个公共性的政府是要拿出一批大的资金过来投入，然后呢，把这样的一个方案提供给专家团队，那专家团队就开始论证这个项目行不行，然后专家团队的这个意见，下一步再到这个市民或者使用方或者是社区的这些居民当中征求意见，最终形成一个大家达成基本共识的一个方案。我举个例子，前年山东青岛做了一个地铁的项目，这个地铁项目在它建立、施工和公共艺术之前，就成立了一个专家团队，因为它这是个商业项目。那政府就是说，它不是投资方，但是它是管理方，就是说你必须要成立一个专家团队。那么我们清华大学美术学院、中央美术学院，还有我们学校，还有4、5个大学和社会的专家组成一个专家组。这个方案论证，政府感觉还可以，专家感觉还可以的情况下，提交给市民，通过网络、报纸、电视、其他的公共媒体进行广泛的把这个5套或者10套方案给老百姓看，最后老百姓投票，网络投票，然后这个报纸投票。最终达成一个广泛的共识。欣慰的是，这些方案没有说忽东忽西的，基本上是一致的。那这个方案我是整个过程我是参与的，但是我们的评委会的主席是杜大卡先生，是清华大学美术学院的教授，他主持，我是参与者。整个的过程，3方，投资方他要效率这一方。他肯定是要看最终的这个价值，老百姓就说我也喜欢，那专家就说他要认同，就说政府要满意，专家要认同，老百姓要喜欢，这3句话是现在的公共艺术当中推行的一个基本的方式。但是在农村，就我刚才讲的，就社区，就是城镇。就是农村这样的一个区域，但是政府要来谈，改造环境，让老百姓有一个很舒适的广场，还有很多的公共设施，包括它的公共艺术，这样听取老百姓的意见，政府要买单，专家经过一轮的论证，这个我们在山东的烟台，包括莱州，我们参与了若干个项目。这个项目的成功点是在于大学生的参与，他先前是调研，是吧？因为他没有任何的经济的利益，他就是做一个志愿者。那去调研以后，就给专家提供一个这样的一个方案，给老师提供一个方案。那么老师再带着这样一个团队给政府看，政府感觉是可行的，因为政府要买单，要投资，然后再反馈到老百姓，这个过程最终达成一个基本的共识。这是。因为初级阶段在发展过程当中，就是说还有很多作品并不算太满意，但是这种参与的意识，对城市发展的这种公共参与的意识是足够强的，我感觉这也是可行的。谢谢。
谢谢。
因为提到了关于公共艺术管理的问题，因为我们中国艺术研究院、中国雕塑院是一个创作学术机构，但是呢，我们同时也肩负了一个管理工作。这个管理工作，就是全国城市，中国的全国城市雕塑建设指导委员会。我们的院长呢是这个委员会的主任。这个委员会呢是下属于国务院住房与城乡结合部，是住房与城乡结合部的副部长裘宝兴先生兼任这个委员会的主任领导，但他是行政上的领导，他基本不参与这个专家性的讨论。这个委员会下属2个委员会，艺术委员会。大的委员会有全国的专家，有100多人。这个里面有历史学家，有这个建筑师、绘画师、雕塑家、画家、园林设计师都有。这里面的院士就是中国2个院，中国科学院和中国工程院院士，就有很多十几个建筑大师。那么这个委员会要对中国重大的这些各省管理省级的公共艺术项目进行审核，进行这个学术的讨论定位，包括资金的投入，包括资金方是谁他。那么现在我们在非常严格的控制消耗大量财力物力的公共艺术项目，提倡这个更加环保、更加节约、更加能够低成本的公共艺术的活动。因为我也是这个委员会的副秘书长，所以对日常工作运行有所了解，也希望这个欧洲的专家能够关注中国公共雕塑的发展。谢谢。
I'll make a very short comment on that. I think the balance between democracy and the integrity of the artist is a very fine line. And generally, I would say that we shouldn't wish which artwork we are presented with. The quality of an artwork is that we experience something we didn't have a clue that we would ever encounter. But when it comes to urban development and dialogues with citizens, I think one can understand it as the dialogue with citizens is to understand their needs, their concerns, their worries, their everyday life, to understand the context. And if you understand the context well, it doesn't mean that they decide exactly how things will look, because we have to recognize the professionalism of architects and artists and so on and planners. So I think one has to be very much defined of what are we asking them and what are we promising them, because we have a number of dialogues in Sweden where people feel that they are promised to have an influence and then they don't, and that's undermining democracy rather than building it. So I think, again, being very precise in what do we ask them. I think we ask them for their needs and their concerns and their knowledge about the local place.
Thank you very much. It's very useful that the conversation the conversation happening here is actually talking about the how, and also the when, the how. So when are certain key points of consultation happening in the entire process, and this is a very big debate worldwide on how to actually consult in a meaningful way, and whether you will have the power to say that the choice decided by the commons can be implemented or not. I'm saying luckily the conversation is now focusing on the how, because this is the topic of the third panel happening tomorrow morning. So I think it's going to be quite a smooth transition and a very useful layer for the publication that happened today. With this, I would like to thank all the panelists for the contribution, to the audience for partially actively participating, but especially for their patience. And I give the floor to you.
Thank you very much, Anamalia. Thank you very much, Rusheng, for moderating this seminar. Congratulations for all the speakers. I think there are extraordinary presentations. And after 8 hours of hard working, I would like to invite you all to the National Museum of Contemporary Art. As I learned, we'll come by bus. Okay. So, in a few minutes, the bus is already waiting for you. Okay, no rush. And we will see each other tomorrow morning. If you all welcome at 9 o'clock, and half 9 we meet for the final as my colleague already announced you. I would like to complete you all for a great and wonderful day that we spent together. I look forward to see you second. And don't forget to bring your badges tomorrow.
Starts 9:30. 9:30. The dinner is late, yes. Because we're supposed to do something first. No food without working.
They fix their point, they don't know how they will written as me. Alors,